Good evening, it's 7 o'clock. It's Friday night and we are back. Yeah, we've had a close season rebrand. We are now no longer the Friday night football pitch, we're just plain and simple the football pitch. But it's still the same good old chat, talking football up and down the country, from grassroots to the international scene. And we are joined by a couple of guys who guested regularly last season. Number one in the shape of Ian Harrison. Ian, good evening to you. How are we?
We're doing well, yeah. It's been a quick summer.
Good. And as always, regular contributor of the show, regular guest, Hearts fan, who looks as if he's got a smile on his face. Maybe nothing to do with Hibs last night, possibly the early season form of Hearts, but it's Graham Duthie. Graham, how are we?
I'm very well. I'm not that petty, but it was quite funny. I'm not going to
lie. Yeah, indeed. We'll probably get on to that later on in the show. But as always, and for the first time this season, I'll introduce my co-host. It's Dennis Newell. How are we doing?
I'm fine, Cammy. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. So as you want to start, guys, will we look at the European football for last night, for over the week?
Yeah, we could do. We'll start with Rangers because I think that was the earliest game it was on. I don't know if everyone watched it. I did. I watched the first match, and I must admit, the first match, I thought Rangers were stuttering big time. Just rusty. I think it's this time of the year. I don't think these games should be played. And basically, they did struggle a bit the second half. They came on to a better game, and they managed to get something out of it. A couple of decent goals they scored throughout the tournament, and they've progressed on to the next round. But all I'll say is, Panathinaikos, if I say it right, were probably the worst finishers I've ever seen. And I don't want to take anything away from Rangers because they thoroughly deserved the result. But if you get an opportunity, look at the strikes and just round about the edge of the box and inside the box. They were absolutely shocking. And I would have went mental if it was even a junior manager could accept that standard of finishing. Never mind, Europa League. Terrible, absolutely terrible. But no taking away from Rangers. Your goalkeeper played well again. The same guy that they went hunted at the park maybe 6-9 months ago. He was outstanding again. And I've always defended him. Thought the goalkeeper was brilliant. And it certainly helped. But they march on, and that's great because they definitely deserved it against a very poor team. And it's bedding in time for Rangers. I don't think there's a lot of great players there. There's one or two that are maybe needing a few more match games that he's brought in that maybe look the part. I'll not go through them now because I'll give them 2 or 3 games rather than throw them in the dictionary now. That's a kiss of death. But there was a couple of players Rangers have got there I thought would certainly be better. But then you've got my old pal Dessers. He comes on the tail end of the game, as usual. Started where he finished off. 1-1 with the goalkeeper. Hits a goalkeeper. Terrible. If he maintains that sort of a level of player, he'll not get any better out of these players than he did last year. I think he'll get found out. He's got to freshen it up big time. And Dessers is not going to be the answer for him. But we will see. I'm preempting that now. We'll get into it probably later on when we start looking at the leagues. But great result for Rangers.
Based on that, though, Dennis,
yeah,
you would say he has learnt one lesson. At least he starts Dessers on the bench.
Well, that's true. Aye. That's obviously Caesar's flaws there. I actually think at the beginning I thought, could he be the right move? Maybe it is the right move. And I'm willing to look at it and say, yeah, it's got to freshen it up. I think he will make changes. There's no doubt about it. And it can only be good for Rangers. If he can get in another few players, I think he could challenge Celtic the way they're going now.
Yeah, because the old adage is if you don't bench a player thinks they're doing well, they're doing the right thing because they're getting a jersey every week.
Well, I don't know what that was. I don't know how that worked when I was playing, and I was never off the bench.
The judge
was
that your nickname, the judge?
There's no incentive for you, Dennis. Graham, your own thoughts on obviously Russell Martin. First of all, the appointment at Rangers, how you think he'll do. And obviously, you guys have got a new manager in the shape of Derek McInnes as well. So it's all change at some of the clubs in Scotland, or the top league anyway.
Yeah, I think Martin's it's a risk, but I suppose every manager that comes into Scottish football is a massive risk. I think he might do okay. I think he's got a long way to go. I think he likes to play possession-based football. And I think if you asked a lot of Southampton fans, it didn't really work. Coming to Scottish football against a very strong Celtic team, I know that Celtic haven't strengthened much this window, but I think they will by the time this window shuts. But it's a big, big risk. And if you look at the 2 games they played against Panathinaikos, and to be fair, Dennis mentioned it there, I think but for Jack Butland, Rangers are out that tie. If you look at both legs, I thought Rangers were very, very fortunate to go through. The first leg for most of that game, Panathinaikos peppered Rangers' goal. Yeah. But for Jack Butland, who got a lot of criticism last season, understandably so. But if it wasn't for Jack Butland, they're 3 or 4 down. They then, obviously, the first leg, Finlay Carter's fantastic talent for 18-year-old. Very, very good young player. I think he'll go far. And then they obviously get the second goal through Kazama. And you think, right, they've got a lead to build on here. Go to Greece, make sure they get through the tie. And I think cut football's all about getting through. It doesn't matter how you do it, just get through. But again, you watch that game against Panathinaikos second leg, and it was pretty much attack against defence. Yet again, Jack Butland has been the difference between Rangers going out and going through. But again, I think Dennis is right. Some of the chances Panathinaikos missed, yes, Butland has a couple of big saves, but I think for me, there's a few big chances that Panathinaikos should take. When they get the first goal, you think, right, they might go and win this tie now. But fair play again. They make the change. Gassama comes on. Within a minute, he scores. He looks pretty decent.
Yeah.
But Rangers are going to have to improve massively if they want to go further, because over the 2 legs against not a great Greek side, they've been very, very fortunate. Very fortunate. I do actually think this Mikey Moore is a good signing. I've seen him a few times. He's only 17. He's a very, very big talent. So I think Mikey Moore is a very good player. But there's no doubt that Rangers have to improve massively, because I do think, yes, they are through, but if it's not for Jack Butland, they're out. They're very, very fortunate.
They're still lacking up front, though. They need a number 9. And, you look at a 17-year-old coming in for Spurs, as good as he actually is, it doesn't matter. Dessers had a million chances last year to be scoring 30 and 40 goals. But if you're going to keep playing people of his calibre up front, doesn't matter what you're providing to them. And that's my worry is you could get all the best midfield in the world, but if your striker's not going to convert to the level you require it, you're in trouble. And I'm not just talking about Europe. I'm talking about the fact that if Dessers had taken more than just over half of his chances, they would have run Celtic very close, because it was missed chances rather than poor defensive or midfield or whatever you want to call it that cost Rangers what would you say, running Celtic an awful lot closer than what they did. So no, you're right though, Graham. He has improved what was there. So we've got to give the guy a chance. He's only in the door.
Yeah, indeed. But at the end of the day, it's all about getting the result. As Graham says, it's all about getting through. It's all about, no matter how you get there, it definitely is all about getting through. And Rangers primarily have succeeded in doing that. They can build upon it. It gives them some money. We know, obviously, the money isn't quite as crucial for Rangers as what it was last season, certainly, but it does give the club some money, and it maybe brings in some revenue where they can go on and strengthen further, for getting through the next ties and things like that, So, yeah, as much as we can be critical, a goalkeeper's there to stop the ball going in the net. Jack Butland's done it. That's why he's there. At the end of the day, yes, he's done his job, but he's only done what he's paid for, and that's keep the score close. And Rangers have done enough, obviously, to get through. Primarily, obviously, at Ibrox, we're getting that first result. Looking at the other 2 clubs in Europe for Scotland, last night, again, another disappointing performance for Dundee United over in Luxembourg, but they've managed to again sneak through. Not quite so good for Hibs. FC Midtjylland was always going to be a difficult tie. Hibs did really, really well over in Denmark, but not so good last night, and obviously ultimately going down 2-1 in extra time, Dennis.
Yeah, I only seen highlights yet, and I'm not convinced Hibs are a finished article yet. I think they're playing with a big centre half who's running about as if he's won the Europa Cup with the ladies in England, and the way he struts about there, he's not my cup of tea at all. And I
Many penalties did they miss?
Sorry, no.
Penalties did they miss?
Seriously, I think. Although I've ranted on about this for ages, Hibs' defence have been a flaw for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's still not got to the level that would have me, what you say, comfortable about going into the season and thinking we won't leak goals. And that's my problem with Hibs. I think they're decent up front. Sorry?
Yep, on you go, yep.
Sorry, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
They're going to sign Grant Hanley. He was there yesterday. They're going to sign Grant Hanley.
I've written that down, Graham. That was my finishing point about Hibs. He was in the stand watching the game, and I actually went, when I seen that, I went, please don't make me suffer for a year having to watch him playing in Scotland. Please don't. I don't care where he goes. Please don't come to Scotland, because the boy's a bomb scare in a Scotland strip, and he'll not be any better playing. Doesn't matter who he's playing with. He could be playing with Dundee for all it matters. He's not got to add anything to any of the teams. Please listen to that, will you? Because you've got to bring somebody in that adds value, and the big fella's not got it. That's only my opinion.
Again, he's playing in the Scottish Premier League. You know, you've already said yourself, Rangers are struggling to score goals. He's maybe not going to come up against the quality of striker that he can come up against when he's playing for Scotland. Or when he was playing for Norwich or whatever else, you know. So possibly it might be a good move for him, but we can only, again, time will only tell with that, Dennis. And he certainly can't make the Hibs centre-half, their central defence worse. So it might well be that he can go ahead and improve it, but time will only tell on that one, you know. And possibly the least said about that, the better, because I can just picture this one going ahead every single week. We obviously you haven't watched Hibs at the weekend.
Graham, you'll be over the moon if he signs with him. I mean, you'll get some enjoyment as well watching him, because I know you're not a fan of him either.
No comment. I just think it's hilarious. I mean, for all the stick that he gets, I mean, the thing is, Grant Hanley's not the quickest. He makes a lot of mistakes, and I just think, I'm bigging up my own team here, which I'll probably do later on. But I just think if you've got a defensive partnership of Rocky Bashiri and Grant Hanley, wow, that's mental.
Aye.
Yeah.
No.
Indeed. That would even have happened.
Oh, no. It's never going to work, by the way. Seriously. Never going to work. That's a kiss of death. It really is. Anyway.
I take it is he a free agent at the moment?
I believe so, yes.
Aye.
Yeah. I think you would have to be, you know, and that's it. At the end of the day, it's not going to cost them a transfer fee. It's not going to be a massive risk. Wages-wise, you know, fair enough. I'm quite sure Hibs can afford these. Well, obviously they can afford these wages, you know. So at the end of the day, it's one of these ones. You take the chance, you pay your money, and pretty much any other cliche you can throw in, you know. So it doesn't do it in Scotland.
I'm quite happy to be proved wrong in these cases, by the way. I'll look at him and rant about it. That's only my opinion. But see if he comes and plays with Hibs and he's really good, I'll be delighted, because what I want to see is improved football. But I don't think he's going to bring that to Scotland, and that's my concern. So therefore, we will see, and I'm easy to eat humble pie if I'm wrong. Absolutely no problem at all.
I know I shouldn't look back at certain things, because he has been a good servant, but I cannot, for the life of me, forgive that game against Poland at Hampden, where we're getting a 2-2 draw, and he dives in and gives away a penalty. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You've got so much experience. All you've got to do, and I said it at the time on another podcast, all you've got to do is jockey the guy out, and for some stupid reason, he dives in and gives away the penalty. I think, what are you doing? It's things like that I just can't understand why you do that.
Yeah. Well, we will see. Wait a minute. No, something, we're spending too much time on Grant Hanley. He doesn't allow that. Seriously.
Well,
I'm not saying there's a good centre forward, Dennis. Come on.
Our golf's poor on Sunday, and we don't spend any time talking about it. So we need to move on.
Yeah, indeed. But as I say, not the worst. Hibs obviously get the consolation of dropping into the Europa Conference Lidl, you know what I mean, whatever league you want to call it, you know. the United already there, obviously. You know, Rangers moving onwards and upwards. So, yeah, it's pretty much the same as last year, isn't it? With Kilmarnock and St Mirren, you know, they dropped down into the other competition and then rapidly went out, you know. So no really change for Scotland in Europe as far as it goes. But domestically, we'll move from the ridiculous to the sublime. I've decided to start taking in some Lowland League stuff. I was at a game the other night, you know, Cumbernauld Colts at Broadwood, Dennis. I invited you along to the game. Cumbernauld Colts against Clydebank. I'll tell you, I watched guys there play the other night who would give Grant Hanley a run for their money, but in all seriousness, the standard in the Lowland League for the couple of games that I've watched, particularly that one, and particularly Clydebank, a lot of good players down at that level.
Yeah. The problem is that unless you've got a foreign name, you don't want to be getting touched by any of the Premier League teams. It's quite ridiculous, you know. We'll never, ever improve the game unless we take chances on local talent. But how many scouts were at the game? They wouldn't even know if there was what a scout was now at one of these matches.
Do you know, Dennis, the one thing I would say, and I hate to be negative about that, but the one thing I would say is there was possibly more scouts at the game than there was Cumbernauld fans. Clydebank supporters probably made up 85 to 90% of the crowd. You know, I think there was 470 folk at the game in Broadwood Stadium, which, by the way, looks pretty dilapidated. And Hamilton, for playing their games there, are going to have a lot of struggles because the pitch looks poor. The stadium is definitely starting to fall to bits and is in need of a lick of paint and a good clean-up. But the one thing that really disappointed me was the amount of supporters there following the home side. They didn't even get cheered onto the park at the start of the game or at half-time. There was no applause at all. So it was very, very difficult to pick out the guys who were there for Cumbernauld, whereas Clydebank supporters, they're obviously revelling in the fact that the club's on the up and up again after so many years in the doldrums, you know, after Airdrie did what they did to the club. But no, really, really impressed the other night with the standard of both clubs, but particularly Clydebank. They look really, really good. Graham, I know you've taken in a wee bit of grassroots stuff and things like that. Have you been to any Lowland League games last season, or have you seen any of the standard of it?
I actually went to the East of Scotland League on Tuesday to watch Pennacook, my local side, playing Musselburgh. I mean, Musselburgh were champions, and they are. You can clearly see the level they've got. They're a level above. I mean, the standard wasn't. I thought first half it wasn't a great game in terms of quality, but second half Musselburgh showed their quality. They've got a guy up front called Jordan Smith, who is very, very technically a very good player. And to be fair, what I love about these kind of games is the quality may not be great, but I tell you what, the intensity and the passion that these guys play at for what's probably very little money, I quite like that. I quite like going to these kind of games. And to be fair, it was a decent crowd as well. You know, Tuesday night in Pennacook, it was a decent crowd. And, you know, that's where I went 2-0 up. Pennacook managed to get a goal back in the last couple of minutes. But I actually do quite like going to watch East of Scotland League because my lad comes with me as well. He's right into football as well. He comes with me as well.
Yeah.
And when Hearts aren't playing or there's no other games on, I do quite like going to these East of Scotland games because it's something different. It's like, it's the heart of the community. Like Pennacook is about 10 minutes along the road from me. So I do like watching these games. And to be fair, I went to quite a few games last season watching Pennacook. And honestly, I just love the passion and intensity, how much it means to folk. And every single player on that park gives everything. What impressed me most about Musselburgh, though, the press that they had, especially first half, they don't let up. They've got a lot of really good quality players. They've got a guy at the back called Jamie Todd, who's a very good footballer as well. I really do enjoy watching this kind of football when it's not my own, obviously, Hearts that are playing. I just like going along and watching a different type of game, and the passion, intensity, I really quite enjoy it.
Yeah, I must admit, I thoroughly enjoyed that one as well. Graham, I'm interested to say you're saying there about East of Scotland League. Obviously, you know, there's changes at Tier 5 in Scotland, you know, for next season, where we're going to have a Lowland League East and a Lowland League West, where the East of Scotland League starting to merge into the Lowland League. Do you think that's going to be a good thing for Scottish football for down at that level? Do you think it'll improve? And as Dennis is saying, we'll maybe actually get some league clubs looking into the Lowland League, to the East of Scotland leagues, to non-league football, essentially, in terms of bringing players through.
I hope so. And actually, about 2 weeks ago, Pennycook played the Hearts B team at Montgomery Park, and they only got beat by 4-2. And again, Pennycook put up a really good fight. Pennycook's got quite a lot of decent players there. They've got a laddie that's played for a while. It was actually his testimonial, Aaron Somerville, who's a really, really good lower league player. So I really hope it does help. I mean, I've gone on consistently about the fact that I would love to see the senior leagues put to 18 teams, but it's not going to happen. But I think for the Lowland League, I think there probably should be more done in that kind of league, because honestly, again, I talk about the quality at times, but I've been to quite a few Pennycook games, and some of the games are actually, I prefer them to the senior games, because it just that passion and intensity these teams show, and the fans as well get right behind the teams and stuff. I really quite enjoy watching these games, and I hope if it obviously is going to get the reconstruction stuff, it will be a good thing. I think it will be, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Dennis, obviously you didn't make it along the other night. I'm quite sure we'll get to a couple of games down at that level, because Graham's right. The intensity there is something you don't see in league football, even in League 2, League 1, and I thoroughly enjoyed that game, probably more so than I thought I would, and as I say, the standard of play, I mean, it was 2 cracking goals, Cumbernauld opened the scoring, Clydebank as well, just after half-time, got the clincher of the second goal, which was an absolute belter of a goal, so there is talent down at that level, and it is such a shame, as you say, Dennis, that unless you've got a foreign name, very, very few league clubs, particularly further up the league, are interested in bringing you through.
Yeah. Well, Cumbernauld is an example. I've never been great for supporting the local teams. I mean, I spent 4.5 years as manager there at Cumbernauld United, and we probably were getting at times as much as what Clyde were some weeks, but that's gone back to the 90s. Now, there's too many buses go to Parkhead, Ibrox, even Firhill. There's an exodus out of Cumbernauld on a Saturday. They just don't go and support the local team, and I'm sure, Ian, if you look at it, you could say the same with Cove, with Aberdeen. There's going to be a diluting side of it, that if Aberdeen's at home, Cove will suffer.
Yep.
No,
that's definitely. But just picking up on that point, you've got Parkhead, which I believe they're away to try to extend to over 75,000.
Yeah.
So that'll probably throw the gauntlet down to Rangers. Rangers will probably feel obliged to try and increase the capacity at Ibrox. But I mean, yeah, most people you speak to that come from the Central Belt, they're either Celtic or Rangers supporters. It's a horrible admission, but it's true. And the ones that I work with that come up north, I mean, there's guys that they'll come from all over. They come from Falkirk. There's guys that come over from Fife, from the West Coast. They're all either Celtic or Rangers supporters. I mean, my local pub, Station Hotel in Stunhaven, you go in there and you would think you're in the middle of Glasgow on a match day, because the Aberdeen supporters are outgunned by the Celtic and Rangers supporters. But they all say it goes back to when they were kids and Celtic and Rangers were two huge forces in Europe, which they were. And they've stuck with that. But anyway, that's by the by. But you're right about attendances. When I first started going to watch Cove in their new stadium, we were getting 1,400 every week. And that was in the Highland League. I mean, it was amazing. And they were trouncing just about every club. I mean, they walked through that league, came into the second division, won that first attempt. And then COVID came once they got into the first. And then the league performances went up into championships and just got thumped just about every week. I mean, they just went a step too far. And the attendances every week, you could literally see it. It was just on a sliding scale. We're now down at maybe 400 is the going. And I kind see that sustainable. Genuinely can't. Not for a team that is now classed as being full-time.
Yeah. I mean, Graham, if you look at Hearts, sorry, Ian.
No, that's it. Yeah, finished.
But Graham, how many supporters, if your stadium at Tynecastle had to be growing, how many supporters extra do you think you could take? Not when you're playing Celtic and Rangers, because it's not full every week. I mean, that's back to what Ian's saying. You know, the Celtic and Rangers thing has got a massive capture. They're even coming down from Aberdeen and Inverness to watch Celtic and Rangers.
Yep.
So, you know, Cove will get battered. They're just passing by the way we're talking about Cumbernauld gets passed by. But there is that element as well with Easter Road and Tynecastle. There's quite a big amount of supporters go through from the capital. Do you think that'll ever change?
No, I don't think so, sadly. I mean, I genuinely think I've had a few folk asking me this, like, could Hearts build a bigger stadium? Obviously, biased opinion, I would say yes, because I think we probably could, because we've got a big waiting list. We've got about 7,000 folk on the waiting list. So I think we probably could get, I mean, even like look at last week against Sunderland. Okay, it's a testimonial. Hearts had about 18,000 for that game for Craig Gordon, and he deserved it. Mm-hmm. I think we probably could fill a big stadium, but the thing, what I will say though, is just coming back to like Lowland League, what I really like, the first game of the season, Hillabeath against Pennycook. Hillabeath streamed that game live, and it was like a couple of quid. I think that's brilliant. See if you've got a lower league side doing like even like a couple of quid to watch it live. I think that's fantastic. That's what most teams should do. And again, I look at Pennycook, my own local team. They do a highlights package later on where they show the goals and stuff. See, for folk that can't get to a game, I think that's fantastic. But not a lot of teams do that. And I genuinely think that's such a good thing. The fact that Hillabeath streamed that game live last week. First game of the season. And they thought, do you know what? We want to try and get as many fans watching as possible. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. And I think on that's a situation there where you're going to see supporters take up that offer and you're trying to entice them to get along to games, you know. And I think if you're watching a decent standard of football, as I did on, I'm saying Tuesday night, it was Wednesday night actually, you know, if you're watching a decent standard of football, it's games you want to get along to, you know. So that's the only way you're going to entice fans in. We talked last season, Dennis, umpteen times about finding it very, very difficult to find Scotland games that have been broadcast, you know. So fans are not going to be interested unless you can entice them along with some kind of offer, you know, get them to live games, and getting them watching something on the telly is the way it's going to happen.
Well, if you look at it, we'll go back to up north where Ian is, you look at it and we'll go back to Cove. You're saying that crowd is down now about 400, Ian. We talked about this last year, if I remember. We did ourselves. And I know it's in that zone. What would a junior team be picking up there then? I mean, which the junior clubs actually? If you're one of your senior clubs in the Aberdeen area, is getting 400 of a crowd, which a decent team to a point. What will the juniors be picking up then, crowd-wise? Would you know?
Maybe you get 100 or so at a junior game.
Right.
Most of the good, what you would class junior class players, are playing in the Highland League.
Yeah.
Right. So the equivalent of a good junior club in say Ayrshire or in the Central Belt, the Highland League would be the equivalent, because that's the equivalent of where that players are.
Yeah.
And it's quite so they've all moved up. You've got to remember, Elgin City was a Highland League club. Peterhead, Highland League. Inverness Cali and Inverness Thistle were both Highland League clubs.
Yeah.
You know, and they've all moved on. The gap has been filled by what were junior clubs, like Aberdeen. In Aberdeen itself, you've got Cove, and then there was clubs come in. There was like Wick Academy have came in. They struggle for quality players, and where you are in the far north, you are going to struggle to entice good players to come and play. The only team up there that's really managed to capture good players is Brora Rangers, but they have got a chairman that's got a couple of quid, so that's helped them out. But the rest, and the likes of Banks of D, they are now in the Highland League. Sunnybank, it's a tragedy because Sunnybank won the Scottish Junior Cup many years ago, and they were a thriving club in the 80s and 90s. And unfortunately, the wrong people got their hands on it and just basically bankrupt the club. Money went missing, horrible things that happened. They ended up getting relegated because of some financial shenanigans and whatever. And they've got a great, where they're actually positioned in Aberdeen is in the middle of a huge housing estate in Northfield. And they have got, their clubhouse is absolutely packed every weekend. There's loads of money available there, but and that's a lot of them have got, and we don't. The rest of them don't have that. Cove Rangers, for example, doesn't have. They have a clubhouse, but it's nowhere near. It's not easy to get to.
See, this is a thing.
It's empty.
Yeah, you need a clubhouse at a lower level because you can't encourage players to come at a lower level unless there's financial reward for it. The days are gone of that where you get good players playing for nothing. I know what, there's still a few out there would, but if you've got a good social club, I remember when I actually played with Cumbernauld United for a wee while, and they had a right good social club when I was there. And then I took a manager's job, and I hadn't been down there for a while. And when I went down, the club was flattened. My mouth just fell open and thought revenue. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
Where are they going to get the finances to bring players in? And you're dealing with committee members that were there for the 60s, and there was tons of money about, and they used to just put their hand out and they would get something. The days were all gone, and they're certainly gone now because people want something in return for the money they invest into clubs. So I can see that we're talking about the lower level there, and I'm saying how can you bring that on? An injection of cash is the only way, but not for players in my head that should be funded. It should be for improving facilities, even if it's training facilities or pitches or whatever else, but not to go into the back pockets of players who maybe just want to use it for a few beers.
Yeah.
I'm probably showing my...
Sorry, on you go, Gil.
I'm probably showing my ignorance here, so I apologise. But what happened to Clydebank? Because I remember years and years ago, I used to go and watch Hearts at Kilbowie, and they had guys like Ken Eady there. I know you guys are saying at the back, and I have seen that. But what actually did happen to Clydebank in the first place?
David Cooper was there as well, Graham.
Yeah, David Cooper, Frank McDougall. Some really, really great players of the past. I mean, that's where Cooper started his career. McDougall, obviously, Ian will know for his time at Aberdeen. But what initially happened, Graham, was I think that they were looking at financial difficulties one way or another. I think the Steedmans were still involved. Kilbowie Park itself had got flattened, so they were kind of a bit of a nomad club. I think they've maybe played a few games at Dumbarton, and they were essentially what happened was because of the financial predicament that they were playing, and I don't think there was any financial guarantees. Airdrieonians had gone bust, and Airdrie, they reformed as Airdrie United, and effectively they bought Clydebank's league place. So effectively what Airdrie did was they destroyed Clydebank. So I think if you see the Airdrieonians and Clydebank FC or what was Clydebank Juniors get drawn in the Scottish Cup, that could be
tasty.
one hell of a tie, But I think obviously Airdrie United bought their place in the league, wiped out the club. They reformed as a kind of Phoenix club within the juniors. I think they were actually playing games at either Drumchapel Juniors or Dundalk or something like that. Dennis, you'll know better than I will.
You were over at Dundalk,
Dundalk. Now they're at what was Yoker Athletics Park in obviously Yoker, home park. They now play their home games at. And effectively they won the West of Scotland's. You're saying about Pennycook and East of Scotland League and Musselburgh and East of Scotland League. Clydebank won the equivalent last year, which saw them promoted to the Lowland League. And as I say, they've won their first two games, but that's a kind of very, very brief potted history as to where the club went. Essentially, Airdrieonians wiped them out. That's the short answer. They were wiped out by Airdrie.
They were struggling though. I mean, it wasn't as if you take they went to the Dogs under a cloud. It wasn't. It was just there was a progression, and they just they've come back with a bang, which is great. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about them last year in our local radio. So you find that there's opportunities there. I don't know how much financial clout they've got, or even if you look, Ian, have you heard of Clydebank? I mean, when you're at Stonehaven, it's no million mile away, but you only need to be 30 mile away from Glasgow and you're gubbed.
Yeah, I mean, no, I knew of them when I was young,
Aye,
and
aye.
then obviously they actually disappeared. But so what happened to their fans? What happened to
Deirdre stole
Clydebank's
them
fans?
as well.
No, as I say, they followed the Phoenix Club, Ian. Which, as I say, they reformed as a junior club.
Yeah.
And as I say, they played their games Dundalk faithfully up that way, the top end of Clydebank, rather than obviously the old Cobowie Park, which is now, as a few football clubs have found, it's now a retail park. When you look at likes of Falkirk, Brockville's now a Morrison's, and a lot of clubs went down that road. Clydebank were still in existence, but obviously their pitch wasn't, or their park wasn't. You're talking about clubhouses get wiped out. As I say, the old Cobowie Park get wiped out. And that was it. I think, as I say, they played a few games. It would have been Boghead back then, in Dumbarton, before obviously Dumbarton moved to their new stadium. So as I say, that's essentially what happened, So I think the animosity is still there from Clydebank supporters, obviously, towards Airdrie. So as I say, watch this space if the two of them do get drawn in the cup, or if, as I say, Clydebank do get promoted up into the league. And as I say, for what I've seen in the first couple of games, they definitely look a decent side. They've got a good support. Home park for their promotion game last season, for getting up for the West of Scotland League, it was full. So you were talking about over 1,000 fans at that game, So, yeah, if Clydebank come into the league, and I know we're only 2 games in, but if Clydebank come up, they've got a bit of backing behind them. All the fans on the other night, as I say, were all decked out in Clydebank's new kit, which I'm assuming is their new kit, with new sponsors and things like that. So again, merchandise, they've got money there for that as well. When you look at like Clyde, my own club, they've not been able to sell new home strips or away strips yet because they're not in the club shop. So things like that. I'm quite sure Clyde aren't the only club. I would hope Clyde aren't the only club, but maybe Clyde supporters can tell me different. But as I say, that the infrastructure, certainly at the football club at Clydebank, appears to be absolutely outstanding. And as I say, should they earn promotion by winning their division of the Lowland League and then winning that playoff, and Ian, you were making reference earlier on to how poor the lack of players up north, and I think you only need to look at the playoffs between Highland League and Lowland League over the last few seasons. Lowland League sides have come out, I think, in every occasion to win that playoff, and then obviously going against the bottom club from League Two.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that itself tells you the difference here, whether it's financial or whether it's just obviously a more plentiful players. But if Clydebank got up through that playoff,
get into the league. Brora, from all accounts I've heard in the last 3 or 4 years, don't want to get into the league. I think maybe the financial restraints, etc. I don't know what the reason behind it is, but when they've looked at potentially playoffs, they're not 110% behind it.
But they're still taking place in it, and I think, Dennis, they've now gone ahead and get their licence. I think 2 seasons ago, I would agree with you that they didn't even bother with their licence to make sure that the ground was compliant with obviously the necessary rules. But they did last season and the season before, when they won that Highland League. So I think they're now looking to maybe see about getting promotion up into the Scottish Football League.
But playing in lower league football in Scotland and being based in Brora, it must cost them a fortune. I would hate to think what the running costs are. But But it's good to hear about Clydebank. I mean, that's a positive, because everything else, unfortunately, is fairly negative. So that's good. It's good to see if there's a club in the ascendancy, because everybody else seems to be struggling, and it's the same old story. So, is it I mean, I know, like I said, down in England, lower league clubs are getting more attendances now because people can't afford to go to Premier League games because it costs you a mortgage to turn up on a Saturday, and people have just started going to watch their local team, which is fantastic.
Mhm.
It's a pity there wasn't more of that going on here, but I just believe that people. We've all said it. It's over winter. It's not so bad in the summer, but in the winter, little 5-year-olds, you know what stand them freezing cold in the stands. So it's not good. But here's hoping that the FA can come up with incentives to get like some kids in there. Because once you get the kids in, the parents, if they want to go, the parents will go with them, and that's as simple as that.
Yeah. All these incentives is something that we need to look at. And as you were saying, Graham, you take your laddie along to Pennycook. I'm assuming for the 2 years to go to Tynecastle week in, week out, the cost would be exorbitant to do that every week. So going along to your local non-league club, be it Pennycook, or whatever, can only be good, and it keeps the lads' interest, or keeps your lads' interest and want to get along to a game.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost, because he's under 13, it doesn't cost anything for him, and it only cost me like £10. I'm more than happy with that. And on a Tuesday night, as I said, on Tuesday night, going to watch that game against Musselburgh, weather was decent, it was a decent atmosphere, and for £10, it's well worth it. I've said it already, I like going along to watch these games. Actually, Pennycook are playing tomorrow at home. Again, Hearts aren't playing until Monday night, so I might go and watch that tomorrow against Camelon. So it's something different to do. And my lad is 13. He loves football. He loves Hearts, mainly because of me, because I've drummed into him, like my dad did with me. But he loves going to watch these games, and as long as he keeps enjoying it, then fantastic for me.
Yeah. Well, as I say, we were a tenner the other night. My youngest was a tenner. He actually paid his old man in, because I don't carry cash. So
wouldn't be able to lift you out of the turnstile anyway.
No, that's for sure. Well, actually, it might be, but no. I mean, as I say, that was a tenner for each, a tenner each, to sit in Broadwood. And you're saying about the weather was good. I forgot how bloody cold Broadwood can get, Graham. So I'm sat there in t-shirt and shorts, and I was freaking frozen, But and that was when it looked a nice night. But again, it was Broadwood. I was at, so it was cold. But anyway, that's what we want to try and focus on here this season on the football pitch. Is not necessarily just looking at obviously the big leagues. We want to obviously look at what's happening up and down the country, be it from kids football, be it from lower league football, grassroots stuff. And where else are you going to get half an hour devoted to the Lowland League, but on this channel here on the football pitch? So go ahead, like, subscribe. It does help us out a ton. We're going to be here every week on YouTube. Well, certainly through August. September might be a different story. Dennis will maybe be holding the controls for that because I'm not going to be here. But anyway, that's by and large, and we'll get that moving forward. But as I say, we're going to be here every week. Might not always be a Friday, but as I say, we will be here every week. So go ahead, as I say, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell on YouTube. Dennis, some of the fixtures that we've got over this coming weekends, in terms, obviously, it's a bit fragmented as usual. The SPL, Falkirk are starting their first game this season. Back in the big time, back in the big league. So you want to give us a wee rundown on some of the fixtures we can look forward to over this weekend?
Well, we'll just take them each one and we can talk, because obviously there's been a lot of managerial changes that that have come in. And the first one we've got in Saturday's fixture we'll start with the Premier League, is Kilmarnock will get Livingston. Well, right away there, you've got Stuart Kettlewell coming back into the game, which I'm delighted to see. Decent guy, Stuart, and I think he'll do well at Kilmarnock. Livingston, they've just come up, so the bottom line is that is probably a good kick-off match for both managers. I don't think there'll be much in that game. I don't know how the rest of you see that match, and whether these two managers have got a lot to prove.
Yep, indeed.
Right, obviously it's not that attractive. I would have had more to say. Motherwell have got Rangers on Saturday as well with a 5:30 kickoff.
Kettlewell's old club.
Yeah, so I mean, Motherwell's got a fresh change as well. I mean, I just don't know what's happening. Maybe now they'll have somebody who's a bit longer than 6 months at the club. I just don't know. But
Well, the last guy was 6 weeks, was he? No, the Austrian boy.
I know. Well, Rangers, I don't even think that's a test for Rangers. I think Rangers will win that game comfortably, personally. I think they'll have too much for Motherwell, and it's going to be an interesting start of the season for Motherwell. And I mean, we will get to maybe in the next week or so our predictions of where they're going to end up. But for this one, I think that one there will just take its course. I don't know, Ian, Rangers, Motherwell, where do you see that ending up?
I think Rangers' confidence will be quite good, actually.
Right.
Motherwell, I haven't seen any of the results in the but I mean, pre-season, you can take them with a pinch of salt anyway. So
They drew 2 each with Clyde in that Mickey Mouse Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go.
There was quite a few
that's
unusual.
Why I'm raising it a little bit.
Yeah, I personally think Rangers will win comfortably.
Yeah. Graham, Falkirk and Dundee United. Falkirk done exceptionally well, and I don't know whether they'll have the staying power against, and I think a real test for this will be against Dundee United, and this is Sunday's fixtures. Falkirk are playing Dundee United at 2:00 on Sunday. So, Graham, your thoughts on Falkirk coming up?
I actually think they'll do okay. I'm a big fan of John McGlynn, plays really good football. I was impressed with him last season. I think with Dundee United, it's difficult because they signed a lot of players, and there's been a lot of talk about the fact they didn't have a Scottish player in their team in Europe. I don't really think a lot of folk care about that as long as they win games. I can actually, I don't think they've really gelled yet. You know, United managed to get the job done in Europe against a poor Luxembourg team, but I actually think Falkirk at home, first game, I actually fancy Falkirk to win that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Yeah.
Okay. Next one is Dundee against Hibs, 3:00 kickoff. And Sunday, what's everybody's thoughts on Stephen Presley being appointed that job?
Right.
First of all,
I've got thoughts on that.
Tony Dock getting the sack, I thought was shocking. But rather than getting into that in depth, I think Dundee have always been a team that are unpredictable with a board that has went on and on for a number of years, and you never know what they're going to come up with. Sorry, Graham, you were saying about Stephen Presley?
Yeah, I've got thoughts on this. Stephen Presley as a player was fantastic. I've got no issue with him as a player at Hearts. This is a horrific appointment. And for me, max of old mates rates with Gordon Strachan.
Yeah.
He has got, in his managerial career, a 37% win record at every club he's been at. There is nobody can tell me, and I don't know who they interviewed, but there's nobody can tell me that he was the best candidate for that job. This, for me, is a case of Gordon Strachan said, "Oh, my mate's here, give it to him." This is a horrendous appointment, and I think it's destined to fail. I will be surprised. I might be proved wrong, and if I am, I'll come back on here and say that. I will be surprised if he even makes it to Halloween. I think this is an awful appointment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
totally agree. I mean, I look at him and I say to myself, would you inspire me in the dressing room? You might have done it as a captain at Hearts. I thought he was a magnificent player. But then I'll go full circle and say, just exactly like you're saying, Graham, you're even more generous than I am. I was going to go give him the OBC out before Christmas because I think it is a shocking appointment from a top-level club that's who they've brought in. And I know for a fact, I'll know you get a custard pie in that one. I know for a fact it'll not work out. It won't. No, are we alone in this?
The longer Dundee stick with Stephen Presley, the less likely they're going to be to escape relegation towards the end of the season. Because number one, I've said before, I work with a Dundee supporter. Dennis, I know obviously you spent a bit of time with the club, you know, and scouting and things like that. So I work with a Dundee supporter. He's saying that Dundee do not have a side. They haven't built a squad. They haven't built a team. He's effectively saying that Dundee in that competition played their first team squad, although a lot of clubs were playing their second string squad. But that's the only squad that Dundee have is a second string squad. Presley cannot work with that. As you say, I don't think he knows how to coach. I don't think he knows how to make players better. And I agree with the two of you in terms of I don't think he can inspire players in the dressing room. So as far as I'm concerned, definitely yes. The longer Dundee persevere with Stephen Pressley as manager, the harder it will be come the end of the season for them to get out of that relegation spot. And I definitely think they'll finish bottom two. It's just whether they finish bottom or not.
When you're appointing a new manager, now again, I know that people, when they say things in press conferences, doesn't really matter. But when your first interview is basically along the lines of, if you want a manager that's got ambition to win things, that's not me. What is that going to do to your team? If you're a player in that dressing room thinking your manager's come out and said that in a press conference, you're thinking, well, he's got no faith in us. There's ways to go about press conferences, and that was a complete failure straight away. You do not do yourself any favours with stuff like that.
Did he say
it? Most definitely.
It's not what he really wanted to say, though. It just came out wrong. There must be something no right there. I just don't know how that appointment's made. I find it quite funny, actually. The
one thing about it is, Dennis, I don't think. But the one thing about that appointment, I don't think Tony Dock was doing a bad job of it, didn't he?
No.
I definitely don't think he'd done a bad job.
Yep.
So why would you replace Tony Dock to bring in that?
Yeah, but
sorry, you go.
I'm a firm believer that managers of every manager that you come across, just about them all, there are extremely strong personalities, and they end up clashing with a chairman because a chairman, 9 times out of 10, has got an ego to be the manager. He wants to be. It's his club, and you'll do what I say. And how many managers have lost their job not because of how they've performed in the workplace, but because they've clashed with their boss? And there's only going to be one loser. And I don't believe. I mean, when I think he was second in command to
Derek McInnes.
Derek McInnes at Aberdeen, right?
Yeah.
And the word in the street in Aberdeen was he was pulling the strings, he was doing the coaching, he was doing everything. Aberdeen, when they had their very good run in the year that they won the League Cup, etc., was all pretty much down to him. Apparently, Mr. McInnes was otherwise occupied, but the less said about that, the better. But anyway, and he was posted missing a lot of the training sessions, and a lot of it was down to Tony. And people had said the best thing they could have done was probably let McInnes go because he was coasting, and keep Tony Docherty. That was coming from hardline fans that I know that turn up every week, and then obviously we went through that.
But see, when you look at Dundee, what are they expecting? What do they think they can do? Right? Who's their challengers? What do they want to do? Do they honestly think they can take on the teams that you would say Celtic, Rangers, Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen? Never in a million years. Never. That's never going to happen. Because see, the board of directors Sorry?
Yeah. And this year they're going to struggle against the likes of Livingston and Falkirk and St Mirren as well.
Yeah.
So right, so predictions for Dundee against Hibs.
It's got to be Hibs, isn't it?
I think Hibs.
100%.
Hibs will
100%.
But I think just on the back of what you said, sorry, Graham, for butting in, but on the back of what you said, Aberdeen proved last year they had a great start, a really poor second half of the season, and still walked away with the Scottish Cup. So any side outside the top two must look to them and say, Jesus, if they can do it, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would believe it. Now, if I'd been a Dundee manager, that's what I would. That's the sort of thing I would look at and say, with an average, I mean, you wouldn't admit it, but with average to mediocre players, you can put in the performances to get your cup. You probably not win a league, but you win a league. But
Ian, you've got managers that go out there for self-preservation, and Hearts have just acquired one. He done it at Kilmarnock repeatedly against Celtic, trying to defend against a team that was always going to break them down. Whether you're at Hearts, whether you're at Kilmarnock, whether you're at Motherwell, wherever, you're not going to stop Celtic the way that you would want to in relation to think we'll defend. Yeah, I know better. We can do it. You're never going to do it. If you don't attempt to have a go at them, then you're upside down. You don't know where you're coming or going. Now, I'm not saying you go gung ho, but you've got to try and look at least getting a draw out the game against the Old Firm. If you don't, what you bring into the game, what you taking to it. And that's where I think sometimes managers are safeguarding themselves. They don't want to be going down the road on a Saturday night thinking, oh, well, we're only beat 3-1 with Celtic or Rangers. No. And of course, Derek McInnes, and I raised it at the time, tried away at the start of the season last year against Celtic to defend and get blown away, and it could easily have been 10-0. And if he does that with Hearts, Graham, you'll be on here battering them. And that's what I feel with some of the Scottish managers. And you've just touched on it, Ian. That's where our problems lie. Self-preservation with them instead of going out and having an attacking game without going mad.
Yeah.
They're meant to be talented. That's why they're in the Premier League.
I would say it in Derek McInnes's defence. When he first came to Aberdeen, he took one look at it and said, the structure is not suitable. It's not acceptable. The pitch is shocking. The training facilities are shocking. There was other things within the infrastructure. He says, you need to change all of that before we can put a decent side out there, because without that, we cannot play decent football. And to be fair, as Stuart Milne, as tight as he was, he gave him what he wanted in that spread. Okay, we've taken that stage further. We've got a fantastic training facility out at Kingswells. That's taken a bit of time, but Hearts already have all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. So that platform's already been set for him. So
I'll tell you what,
his coaching ability.
Even better than that, he's got Tony Bloom with his machine there in the backup, so he could be ready-made for that. So what you're saying is he got the tools at Aberdeen, and he just failed maybe to use them fully. Well, he'll get the opportunity here, because you've said many a time, Ian, that he done a decent enough job at Aberdeen, and I'll agree with that. He did, but after that, I don't think he's been to the standard that's required.
He did. He definitely steadied the ship. There's no doubt of that.
Aye. Yeah.
So Graham, ahead of the Hearts home game on Monday night against Aberdeen, I know obviously if you're looking at what you've done in social, some of the stuff you've posted in social, you're actually very, very optimistic about Derek McInnes at Tynecastle. Following on from when the appointment was made, I know you were looking at wanting to get a foreign manager in because of Tony Bloom. But do you feel that now that McInnes has got his foot under the door, he's had obviously the League Cup, you do seem quite optimistic?
Yeah, and I should learn my lessons as a Hearts fan not to be so optimistic, because it tends to go wrong when I start doing that. But I think there's a lot more encouragement. I think he's signed very well. Again, I know that I talk about managers saying stuff in press conferences, but everything he said has been very, very good. He's been very positive. He's talked about the standard at Hearts that you have to set, which I just don't think we did last season, and we know that. I think keeping Lawrence Shankland is massive. That was going on for far too long. And I think the signings that we made have been very positive. You know, we needed more pace in the team. We've got that. Clyde Bragger's been fantastic so far. As anyone that's watched TikTok earlier will know, the fact that I just sang that song that Queen did, that was quite funny. Kizreed, like, Wide looks really good. Kerjota's come in. Stuart Finley's done very well. We've got 2 more players to bring in. There's a lot more positivity. And I think last season, I thought pre-season was an absolute shambles. We didn't play enough game. It wasn't great at all. I know I have to caveat by saying that we played lower league teams in the Premier Sports Cup, but I've seen Hearts fail in these games before. We've won these games comfortably, scored 16 goals, conceded 1. There's a lot more positivity going into the season. We've got a big squad. When we sign these other 2 players, we've got a squad of 32. That will get trimmed before the window shuts. But we do look far better. We look far more compact. We look far quicker going forward than... That was one of the issues I had last season with the lack of pace going forward. Yeah. We've got that now. And I think it always helps when new players come in and they settle quickly. We've got that. So I think there is more positivity. I know I have to caveat it. And we have to make a statement on Monday. We have to win the opening game against Aberdeen. Because if we don't win that, if we lose that game, then straight away you're thinking, oh, here we go again. But
same old.
I just have this feeling that Derek McInnes understands what it means to be a Hearts manager. I know you've got Duthie. His first interview straight away, he said, I've wanted to manage Hearts for a long time. He understands the demands of Hearts, which I just don't think Neil Critchley did. So, yeah, there's a lot more positivity, but I think that first game on Monday is massive. Tynecastle Park, under the lights, against a team that's not won at Tynecastle since 2017. We have to go and make a statement. Make sure we get 3 points on the board and then carry that on.
Yeah, most definitely.
See the fact that Shanklin, is he going to play him right through the middle? Because I think that was one of the failings that Hearts had last year, was that Shanklin was playing off the forwards because he was just not doing the tricks that he was normally doing in the box finish, right? You play him right through the middle, I think you've got what his asset is, just a goal scorer. That's all you want him for. A goal. I know he's got more in his locker, but you just want him scoring goals. And when he starts to get confidence, once 2 or 3 have hit the back of the net, you don't need to move him anywhere else. You get people to play for him. And I think that was what was wrong last year. They relied on him too much as being a whole team player instead of just going and doing the gig of scoring goals. And if Derek McInnes plays him right up front, and I think you'll see the best of it, and the players around about him will help him. I wouldn't be negative about Hearts this year simply because of the way the infrastructure is and investment and everything. And McInnes should be able to improve the team big time because he's experienced. I mean, you just need to look at the experience he's had at Aberdeen in this league. It's been exceptional to a point that level, he can still go and get into cup finals and, be in a position that he can compete. Whereas you've had people at Hearts recently who have not been able to do that for you.
Yeah, I think last season it was kind of square pegs, round holes, trying to play the position. You need to play players in the right position. And I think that's the one thing that Derek McInnes will do. He will play, he knows how important Shanklin is. He will get him up front as the focal point and he'll score goals again.
Yeah. Okay, one of the games we've missed. So again, you're taking it then, Graham, that you're going to beat Aberdeen on Monday night?
I probably wouldn't disagree with that.
I am going to say Hearts to win 2-1.
You agree with that, Ian?
I'm afraid I would. I find it difficult to. There's no evidence in past history to say that we're going to beat Hearts down there. Even when we're playing at our best, they always seem to be the bogey team. And this will be our first real competitive game. This will be our first competitive game in the season because we didn't play Aberdeen in the league. So we lost 4, was it? I think it was either 4 or 5 loan players that were regulars in the Aberdeen team last year. They're gone. We've lost 2 others that played in a cup final. They've been signed. One just went away to Turkey today. I think he was signed by a Turkish Premier League team. So probably we're going to struggle a wee bit. And it's basically get a patch your team together, throw it out there, see what happens. Mind you, I said the same last season. I thought they would really struggle, and they won, 10 in a row or something. So, do
you think that's possible this year?
No, I can't see it. But what I will say is that the supporters are absolutely jubilant after. There was quite a few before the cup final were even dubious about going down. And it was like, oh God, we're going to do Glasgow, get another pump. But there was quite a few season ticket. Am I going to get one? Am I not? Yeah. And then so they ended the season on a high. The players did, the supporters did. Season ticket sales went up. So the supporters are still living off of last year. So, but I have a funny feeling we'll make them do a wee bump on Monday.
And we'll have a big support that goes down to Tynecastle on Monday.
Aberdeen's got an amazing away support. I absolutely phenomenal. They'll take 4,000 or 5,000 just about everywhere.
Incredible.
And my 2 nephews go, and they said that they rather go away games than the home games because they think that the team, I don't know, they just seem to struggle on with home games, whereas the away games they seem to play better. So.
Yeah.
Well, the game we haven't touched on is obviously tomorrow, Sunday at Celtic Park, where the champion Celtic obviously taking on St Mirren live on Sky. Pretty much, I think that should be formality for Celtic. Should be expected that Celtic will get a victory in that one. But we'll look at the championship. And tonight, quarter of an hour or so, 20 minutes or so ago now, Arbroath kicked off the season for the league anyway, at home to Ayr United. That's live on the Babe.
Ayr United
tomorrow, Ayr won up, as you say, Dennis. So tomorrow we'll get Ayr Drayonians at home to Ross County, Morton at home to Dunfermline, Raith against Queen's Park, St Johnstone against Partick Thistle. So the two relegated sides there. I don't think either of them have got an easy tie in tomorrow at all. Looking into League One, the games tomorrow. Ian, your own Cove Rangers, Queen of the South have got a wee trip up there. Hamilton at Broadwood. Hamilton at Broadwood, Clyde at Hamilton. Bloody hell. Home to Montrose. Shelty Hearts at home to Cally Thistle. Peterhead and East Fife, the two promoted sides. And Stenhousemuir against Alloa concludes the League One fixtures. And League Two tomorrow, we've got Annan at home at Elgin. Clyde are going to Dumbarton. East Kilbride FC at the Ross Commercial Finance K Park Stadium. There's a mouthful and a half for you. They're at home to Spartans. Edinburgh City at home to Stirling Albion. And the bottom two sides, Forfar Athletic against Stranraer. They look to be obviously getting their season off to a better start than they did over the last couple of seasons. Nothing really to inspire you in terms of fantastic matches at either level, but you've got to wonder, Elgin City all the way down to Annan Athletic on the opening day of the season, lads.
Yeah, we touched on this big time last year, and more so when you get into the poorer months of the year. You can live with that when it's, you've got later nights and they'll maybe get back up the road. Well, I was going to say before it gets dark, but that's highly unlikely. But but when you look at the winter months and the starting dishing these fixtures out all over the place midweek, it's not right, because these guys are no full time, and it means then that people are not going to get time off their work. I had a wee spell at Stranraer, and I know for a fact those guys, when we had a midweek game, you had to leave at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the day to get down there. Well, you've got to have a good boss. I was always hoping some of them had rotten bosses, so I would get more regular game. They wouldn't let them off their work. But unfortunately, there was quite a few good people to work with. But no, it's a bit of a burden when you're trying to, get time off your work to go in these midweek fixtures. And to be honest, a lot of them didn't mean a lot, So no, I'm not for that. Right. I think they need to look at the leagues for this. Yeah.
Well, speaking of work, I'm up for work in 6 hours, so I think we'll look at calling it quits shortly. Yeah. But Graham, what's your aspirations and predictions for Hearts this season? And we'll probably run through the leagues as well in terms of get league predictions from you for the 4 leagues in Scotland as well.
I mean, aspirations are to win everything, but probably realistically, I'm looking at a third place finish and potentially winning a cup. I've never seen Hearts win the League Cup. I'd like to see us win that. Difficult tag in St Mirren coming up in a couple of weeks, but I'd like to see us win the League Cup.
Yeah. And go through your leagues, because Cammy and I will do it in a couple of weeks when we've seen how they play. Who's going to win the league, Premier League?
I think it'll be Celtic. I think it'll be closer, but I do think it'll be Celtic.
Right.
And I've got Dundee to get relegated.
Dundee, yeah. You want to look at the rest of them, or you want next time you're on, you can make your mind up a wee bit easier. Championship. Who do you reckon in that?
I've gone for an outside bet. I've gone for Dunfermline because of Neil Lennon.
All right.
Interesting. League One.
Even though they've got a 5-point deduction, I've gone for Inverness.
Fair enough.
That's strange to carry that on, isn't it?
Yeah. And League Two.
To be honest, I can't, because of the money they've got behind them, I can't see past East Kilbride.
Yeah.
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 Ian. When you look at the fixtures and now they're sitting third in the league, I can't go with that. They've not kicked a ball yet.
Well, hang on a minute. Clyde must be second then.
That's right. Yeah.
Behind down in Athletic. Can we just call the season now then?
Yeah. So you've got East Kilbride, yeah.
Right. Ian, thoughts for the season? Predictions for the season?
Aberdeen expected to be... Expectations would be best of the rest. Third place. I think they've got to be realistic.
Right, okay.
And just as Graham says, a cup. Why not? They've done it once, they can do it again. Going down.
No, who's winning the league though?
Yep.
Oh, winning the league, I'm going to go put my neck out and say Rangers.
Oh, don't know about you playing golf with me on Sunday after that remark.
I'm just looking for a change.
I know you go. I'm saying it tongue in cheek because everybody goes for Celtic.
I know.
Relegated, Ian.
Yeah, relegated. I'm afraid I'm going to have to agree with Graham. I think it's Dundee's not looking good at all.
Yeah.
There's obviously a lot going on. To be fair, I haven't really looked at the championship. I'm not 100% sure on that at all. Right. In any of the lower leagues, I'm waiting. I was waiting to see how the first couple of games went first.
Yeah, well, we'll do that. We'll leave you, Ian, because you can save that up for the next time you're on.
I'm not even going to take a mulligan on that. I'll just
have a mulligan.
Dennis, quickly.
No, I'll give you mine next week. We're running
on. Okay,
we're nearly 8:15, and you're going to your bed.
I'm the only brave one to give a prediction for all 3 leagues. Then that's typical.
No, listen, I'll go as well. I'll come in as well. I'll give you mine. I've absolutely no problem. I'm not like Dennis. I'm not waiting to see if the season's done. Then I'll make a prediction. You know, I ain't going to predict Paris Saint-Germain are going to win the Champions League on the semi-final stage. You know, let's be fair.
But I just kept it quiet up to then.
I know, that's that exactly. Right, I'm going to go Celtic with Dundee to get relegated. I think we're pretty much unanimous across the board. Even you might go for that one, Dennis.
I'll tell you what. I'll just put mine in then. I'm going the same as well.
Right, on you go.
Putting Celtic and Dundee.
Yeah.
Celtic.
I'm going to go Championship. Ross County.
Ross County.
Such a tough league to call, though. So
murder. Yeah. I know that. Yeah, murder.
I'll throw a strange one in there. I'm going to say Partick.
You're going to go Morton.
No. I'm going to say Partick.
Thistle.
Yeah.
League One. Graham, I've got to admire you for Inverness Cali because I'm looking at this and honestly, I'm really, really struggling to who could go ahead and win that. And I'm going to do what you've done in terms of Neil Lennon for Dunfermline. I'm going to go Dick Campbell for East Fife. Or East Fife with Dick Campbell in charge.
All right. Who are you saying? East Fife?
I'm going to go East Fife. East Fife.
Right. Right, okay.
With Dick Campbell.
Ian, how about we shift at that? You can get it done. Airdrie, Arbroath, Ayr, Dunfermline, Greenup, Partick, Queen's Park, Raith, Ross County, St Johnstone.
There you go.
To be fair, Ross County normally go back up.
Right, okay.
Right, so you're with me.
Yeah, Ross County normally go back up.
I think that may be a good shout. I'm going to change this after 2 weeks anyway. So
you probably will do.
League One. Cammy, League One.
Well, League One, I've gone East Fife.
Oh, you've gone East Fife. I've not with anybody. It's me then that's holding the boat up.
That's you. Come on.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's a difficult one.
That's hard.
Oh. You know something? I'm going to go with Graham because I went for Inverness Cali last year and they probably would have done really well if they hadn't been deducted. So I'm going Inverness Cali.
Fair enough.
Well, since we're just about all there anyway, put me down for Cove.
Cove, aye? Yeah.
Yeah, we've just got two new players, so yeah.
Sorry, and I'm taking them down actually because I want to pull Cammy up about this later on. Who are you saying in the championship, Cammy? Ross County?
Aye, Ross County.
Ross County,
sorry. Yeah. Okay, that takes us to League Two. Right,
Graham's gave his. He went East Kilbride.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a strange one here because I think they've strengthened in the right places. The problem could be their manager. But I've got a fancy for Forfar.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to throw a loose one in there. You're saying Forfar, Cammy, right? I'm going to go Spartans.
I thought mine was strange. Ian?
I'm I'm going to go with Graham with the new boys.
East Kilbride. There's money. There's money there.
As a way
know,
to say, I was reading about them. I never realised how big East Kilbride was. 75,000 people.
Massive.
Yeah.
The biggest town in Scotland that didn't have a league club, a senior club.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so.
I was reading how much finance is actually available to them. And
there's money there. They brought in a lot of good players. Mick Kennedy and Cy Ferry in charge as well. You know, the Keane brothers have thrown money in there as well. You know, so yeah, financially, I think they're head and shoulders above everything else. But Clyde proved last season that just having an expensively assembled squad doesn't necessarily do anything for you. You know, so I've just got a fancy for Forfar, as I say. I fully understand why you guys have gone East Kilbride. Dennis, you've not went to anybody.
I have.
Spartans,
Did you? Oh, you went Spartans. That's right. Right. Okay. Fair enough. Right. Well, that was an exciting bit of the show.
Yes.
So
I'm going to go and
you've got this part to listen.
I think I'll put a bet on Dundee to beat Hibs tomorrow after our confidence there. It must be good odds.
Yeah.
No problem. If you have made it this far, listening to the show, we definitely appreciate you. Apologies to Dundee fans, Hibs fans, and anybody else's fans who feel that obviously their time has come already. But you have been listening to the Season 2 debut of the Football Pitch. Dennis, you want to say something?
No, Cammy, it's just changed with the way your head keeps coming along. It goes Football Pitch.
The Football Itch.
Pitch.
There you are. Hang on, that way. There you go.
The P's been blocked out all night. But anybody that knows Stephen Presley, wish him all the best for the season. I think it's unfair that you lot gave him a hard time out there.
I think he's in a taxi to your house.
Stephen Presley's got one thing in common with it. Sorry, Graham, on you go.
Elvis has left the building.
Exactly.
The poor man.
Hey, if only, say Dundee fans, you know. But the one thing that Stephen Presley's got going for him is he hasn't listened to the end of this show tonight. You know, he might actually feel he's still got something to live for. But it's
only our opinion, right? We have no malice against anybody. It's just an opinion, and that's all it is.
I mean, to be fair,
I'll tell you what. If Stephen Presley had watched me playing, I'd have a brass neck giving him stick. So that's the way I look at it. As a player, the man was magnificent. I love watching him playing, but we'll need to give him the benefit of the doubt and hope that he can do well at Dundee.
To be fair, he's caught in a trap.
Huh?
Mm-hmm. He is caught in a trap. Yeah.
Yes.
And he can't even forget it.
No, wait a minute. No, if you're a Dundee chairman, you've got suspicious minds about him, though.
Oh dear, I can't go on.
Oh no.
Right.
All right. You have been listening to the Football Pitch. Good night.
No.
Hang on a minute, I can't find the button to hit end. There we go.